Yes, we are recording. And got an itch. It feels like it's been forever since I've recorded a video. It's been a week. But it's been a long, busy week. 2 weeks. Yeah, okay, let's just get to it. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. That was loud. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my March 2019 favorites video, but I think I'm going to rename this series a little bit. I'm going to change it to a recap / favorites video. As I mentioned in previous videos, due to time and money and whatever other constraints, I don't really experience a lot of new things every month that I can go over. So it's hard to consider all of the new and interesting things that I would talk about in a video as a favorite. So this is where the recap part of the name comes in. I want to talk about the things that I experienced in the previous month and then point out whichever things were my favorites, if I had any favorites. Sometimes I won't. Sometimes they'll just be new things, and yeah, let's just go from there. So I want to start right away with the books. Unfortunately, I don't have an indie book spotlight for this month because I only managed to read one book in the month of March, and that was Six of Crows. Six of Crows. This book has been hyped all over the internet, all over YouTube and Instagram and just everywhere that bookish things take place. So I don't want to sit here and just hype on it too much, but I did enjoy it. Do I think that it's a little too hyped? A little. Yes, I did enjoy the book, but I don't know. I mean, it wasn't like a 5-star, rocket ships to the moon, fireworks kind of situation. I would give it 4 stars. It wasn't exactly what I expected because there was a lot more flashbacks than I expected. So the flashbacks were intermingled with the present action in a way that wasn't super distracting, but actually makes you learn about the characters and like the characters more. I did like the characters a lot because they were all very distinctive and they had their own quirks and situations. But it took literally more than half of the book to get to the plot, if that makes any sense. So it's basically about 6 dangerous outcasts, 1 impossible heist. So you go into it thinking that these 6 people that we meet are going to be doing some sort of heist, aka a theft of some sort. But it takes almost 3/4 of the book to get to the heist. So that was a little bit disappointing, but overall I liked it. And I liked the characters, and I'll probably read the sequel at some point. So the next part of my favorites / recap video is movies. And I actually watched quite a few movies this month, which I love. I've probably said it before, I am a story lover, and it doesn't necessarily matter which medium I get the story in, whether that's movies, books, video games, whatever. So I was really excited to watch 3 distinctive movies. None of them are really new. The first 2 that I'm going to mention are from the same series, and that was Unbreakable and Split. And the third movie in this series came out in 2019, I believe, which is called Glass, and it's all kind of the same sort of characters or whatever. So these are all M. Night Shyamalan movies, so there was kind of a twist, and they definitely had that M. Night Shyamalan feeling, where a lot of people kind of talked really slow, and everyone seemed very subdued, which I feel is pretty normal in M. Night Shyamalan movies. But they were really interesting. Basically, Unbreakable follows a character who can't die, who can't get injured, and he meets Mr. Glass, who is someone who has very breakable bones, so you see that they kind of, there's something going on there. Split is about a person who has multiple personalities, which I know is more appropriately called dissociative identity disorder. Yeah. And basically he has 23 personalities, I believe, and some of them are kind of evil. And then there's a 24th personality that's supposed to be coming, and it's called the Beast, and it really not only just changes his personality but also changes his body. So between the 2 of those, I would say that Split I actually liked more. I think my husband preferred Unbreakable, but I just have this thing where I really like movies that deal with psychology and mental illness. So I was a little bit more interested in Split because, I don't know, it just had a little bit more creepy vibes, whereas Unbreakable wasn't exactly creepy, but it was definitely interesting. The third movie that I watched this month was The Crow, and again, this is not a new movie. It actually came out in 1994, and it is basically about a rock star who is murdered as well as his girlfriend. They're both murdered, and he is brought back from the dead in order to get revenge. And I liked it for, like, the action aspects and the whole revenge, but it did have a very, like, early 90s feeling, especially the dialogue. A lot of the dialogue was very, like, cliche, but I didn't really mind, because, you know, I kind of liked it for what it was, the action. It just, you know, I kind of preferred it when people just didn't talk. But overall, yeah, it was an interesting movie and enjoyable, and I remember my brother watching it when I was younger, and for some reason, I thought it was going to be a lot scarier than it was. I mean, it was violent, but I guess it was like 1994 violent / scary, not necessarily like 2019 violent and scary, which says a lot about how far we've come in terms of stuff that we will portray in the media. The next category in my favorites for this month was a TV show that, again, was not new. I discovered Skins, the UK version. Apparently there was an American version that was, like, not very good. And this show, the original show, aired from 2007 to 2013, and it is set in the UK, and it stars British actors and actresses, and it's basically like Degrassi, except much more gritty, and lots more drugs, and lots more sex, and a lot of dark humor. I mean, it was a very interesting balance between being really funny and being really, like, dramatic and, like, heartbreaking in some ways. So it follows a group of teenage high schoolers. I think they're in high school. They keep saying college, which in the United States means university, but they kept saying college, and they're all, like, 17, 18 years old, so I'm assuming they mean high school. Sorry, I don't really know the difference between those. And it kind of just goes on about the different dramas and situations that they all deal with, and a lot of them are really, like, difficult situations. Like I said before, drugs, sex, violence, death is in there a lot, relationship issues, whether that's, like, romantic relationships or family relationship issues. And the really interesting thing to me was that it doesn't really end happily. I guess you wouldn't really expect it to, considering how, like, dark and gritty it was, but sometimes when the target audience is teenagers, you almost expect sort of like a silver lining sort of ending, but it didn't. It was pretty sad and dismal at the end with, like, some little glimmers of hope, but yeah, it wasn't very happy and fulfilling, and that's why I'm not sure if I'll keep watching it. The other reason why I might not watch it is because every 2 seasons, the cast is completely new. So the cast that I watched in the first 2 seasons is all gone except for, like, a couple people, because it's meant to follow these teenagers within their last 2 years of high school. So the 3rd and 4th season will have new characters, and some of them are ones that we've seen before, and some will be completely new, and blah blah blah. So I'm not really sure how I feel about trying to get attached to more new characters I'm not sure if I'm going to like, and then I'm going to watch them go through a lot of, like, really dramatic situations, but I don't know. Overall, it was a very entertaining show. I'm not exactly the target audience for this show, but considering how a lot of the situations are very adult, I think adults could enjoy it. So yeah, I'm not really sure if I'm going to continue watching that series, but I found it interesting and entertaining. So for the final category of my March recap / favorites, I have the miscellaneous section. And this is going to be a lot of random stuff, but they were things that I really got into this month or enjoyed this month and felt like they were worth mentioning. So the first one, I might edit this out, I don't know, because it's just silly. The first one is Bowman's grocery store cake. Yes, that's right. Grocery store cake was a monthly favorite. So as I have mentioned in probably plenty of previous videos, my husband and I are planning our wedding, which is going to be in May. And a couple weeks ago, we went to a wedding cake tasting and actually chose the flavors and the design and all that stuff. And there's just something about, like, grocery store bakery cakes that I just love. And I don't know why, because having worked in a grocery store bakery, a lot of times the cakes come, like, pre-made and frozen, and I'm not sure, but I think Bowman's is maybe like a Utah-only grocery store, or maybe it's just in this area. I haven't been able to figure that out. I did try to look it up. And they did mention when we went there that a lot of their products are made from scratch, but again, having worked in a grocery store bakery, I know a lot of that stuff is prepackaged and frozen. But whatever it is, whether these were scratch cakes or from a mix that they actually baked in store, or If they were frozen, I don't think it really matters because they were so freaking good. If there's anything else you should know about me is that I love desserts, I love baking, and so when I taste a cake that I love, I really do love it. And we tried so many different flavors, and they were all good. Like, even my least favorite was good. Like, carrot cake was my least favorite. If you like carrot cake, that's fine, whatever. I do not like it, but even that was, like, enjoyable. So I'm gonna stop going on about cake that you guys can't taste and talk about my next one, which is gonna be another kind of weird one for a lot of you, I think, and that is crock pot. I got my first crock pot for Christmas this past year, and I started using it, and I've only actually made, I think, one recipe in it. I made the same recipe twice, and I was just like, this is freaking cool. Like, I know this isn't like a new thing. Crock pots have been around for a long time, but I've never used one. I've never made anything with one, and I was really surprised by how good it was and how easy it is to make stuff. You just literally prep the stuff, throw it in there, and pretty much forget about it. I mean, for someone who is as busy as I am and who still tries to cook meals as much from scratch as I can several times a week, this is kind of like a savior. And then my third and final miscellaneous item is the Wayward podcast. I don't really listen to podcasts, like, ever, and I've listened to a few, like, writing ones, but they weren't, I mean, they're kind of things you listen to, like, learn stuff as much as you are to be entertained, but the Wayward podcast is by far the best podcast I have listened to thus far. And I guess that's not saying a lot, since I don't really listen to them, but whatever, just go with it. My camera's gonna turn off soon. So the Wayward podcast was created by Brianna Buckmaster and Kim Rhodes, who met on the set of Supernatural. They are both actresses who work on the show Supernatural, which is one of my favorite TV shows that I never mention in favorites videos because it would be on there like every month. And so I don't really want to describe like where Wayward comes from. If you're a fan of the show, then you'll get it. But basically, they just talk about real shit, and it is kind of nice to listen to a podcast that's pretty much just run by women. I binged like 5 or 6 episodes in a row yesterday, and it was just entertaining. Like, it's both entertaining, they talk like real fucking people, and they have like really good insights on stuff. They're, you know, both adult women who have their own opinions, and they're not afraid to share them, and they talk about all kinds of different stuff, and it's not necessarily like geared specifically towards women, but it is really nice to listen to women talk about real shit in a real way that other women and men and probably whoever can appreciate. And if anyone's wondering, I listen to it on iTunes podcast. I don't know what that's called because, again, I'm not really like a podcast kind of person, but I listen to it on my iPod, so it's like an Apple thing, but they might be on other podcast mediums. If it sounds interesting, check it out. I highly recommend it to anyone who likes to listen to people talk about real shit the way that real people talk about stuff. Not like overly sugar-coated or fluffy, but also not like so vulgar that you can't really listen to it. I mean, they do swear and they talk about stuff like very blatantly, like, you know, sex and relationship stuff and, you know, issues that are like actually important. But they don't do it in a way that's like ostracizing? Is that a good word? I don't know. But yeah, if you want entertainment and you want real shit from women, and if you're a fan of Supernatural and you just like those people and you're interested in like more Supernatural, they don't really talk about Supernatural, but if you're interested, check it out. And my camera's gonna die, which is why I was talking so fast. Oh, I was talking so fast because I knew my camera was gonna die before I could get the entire video done, when I could have just let it die and delete old footage and continued going. So now I'm all, like, tired out. Yeah, I hope I didn't talk too fast through that favorites video, but I did manage to talk about everything that I intended to. I guess the only thing left to do is the outro, now that I've lost all my steam. So I guess that's all I have to talk about in this month's recap/favorites video. If I had to choose out of all the things I talked about today, I would guess the favorites would be the book, Six of Crows. For the movies, I think I'm gonna have to go with Split. Disagree if you want to, but out of the 3 movies, I think that one was the most interesting to me personally. And then from my miscellaneous category, my favorite was definitely the Wayward Podcast. So if you have experienced, watched, read, listened, whatever to any of those things, let me know below in the comments which you've experienced, and let me know what you thought about them. Like the crock pot. If you'd like to keep up with me on other social media outlets, is that a thing? Whatever, let's go with it. I will link those all down in the description below. If you would like to purchase my self-published novel, Blood of Fire, the link is also in the description down below. So until next time, see ya! So, I don't even know what to do for the thumbnail, because I only have like one prop. Oh my god. Let's use that as a picture. Maybe just some generic shit like... What are these faces I make? Where do I normally write? I think I write stuff over here. I think these are where the words go. I feel like a corn dog.